Yes, folks, the pool is open. Thank you for joining us again for another Talk Dive Live. Yes, we've got some new panelists today that we'd like to introduce you to in just a moment, but we want to thank you all for joining in. Thank you for staying safe. Thank you for staying out of the water because we can't get there because we can't do much other than our Netflix and our video games, except for this half hour, we get to talk scuba. So, without further ado, let me introduce you to our panelists for the day. We have our very own lovable instructor, David. David, would
Hey,
you
everybody.
introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm David. If you've been on these calls before, you've seen me. I'm an instructor here at Rainbow Reef. I am missing scuba diving a lot, but glad to talk to you guys.
Yes, and he doesn't mean that he's missed scuba diving. He means that he misses it. Then we've got another one of our interns on the line. Indy, would you introduce yourself for us?
Yeah, my name is Indy Sorensen from Jacksonville, Florida, and I'm fairly one of the newest interns here.
He's been here over a month. We're all nicely segregated, or sequestered, I should say. And also from way out there, we've got somebody from the head camp himself, Mr. Nick Jenny. Nick, would you introduce yourself for us?
Yeah, happily. Okay, my name is Nick Jenny. I am the regional manager for Eastern Florida, the Bahamas, Turks and Caicos, and the Caymans. And like you guys, or many of you that are here in Florida, I am safe at home here in Jupiter, Florida. And I agree, David, I am sorely missing diving. Can't wait to get back out on the boats.
Yep.
Nice. Well, that's good because you've come to the right place. We're here to indulge you in all the fat-free scuba snacks you can actually ingest. So a lot of shops are doing this. This is a wonderful way to meet, greet, talk to people. It looks like we've got a lot of people online right now. Ken, how you doing? It's been a long time since I saw you, so it's good to see you here. So without further ado, let's talk some diving. And specifically, let's go back to a couple days ago. We were talking about the master scuba diver, the black belt of scuba diving. Well, one of those specialties that you could do is the night specialty, which of course you can link to the advanced course or take it on your own. So, David, let's go to you a little bit and talk to us a little bit about the course.
Yeah, the night dive course is a great way to get you more comfortable doing night dives. Obviously, it will introduce you to night diving. There's actually 3 dives if you do the full course. You do, as always, if you do the night adventure dive for advanced open water, you do the first dive. And basically, you read about lights and that sort of thing. We're going to talk about lights in a little bit. But on the dives, you do a little bit of navigation. You get used to going into the water and descending and ascending at night because it's a little bit different, obviously. One of my favorite parts of the night dive course is when you actually turn off your light and hang out for 3 minutes. And if you wave your hands around, those of you who've been on night dives before, you know the whole sea lights up with phosphorescence. So that's all fun. But it's a great way to improve your skills, improve your confidence.
Wonderful. Thank you, David. Now, Indy, I don't know if you've had a chance to do a night dive yet. Is there anything specific? Are there any kind of like other critters that may come out at night?
Yeah, there definitely are. There's a lot more fish that are normally hiding during the day that you'll definitely see on night dives. My favorite thing by far is how no matter how deep you go and you shine your light on something, especially the reef, it brings back all the color you would normally lose going down. You don't need a filter or anything on a camera because when you hit your light on it, all that color is back.
Nice. Now, Nick, I'm sure you've had some experience night diving, especially with the region that you've got. Tell us something a little specific about some night diving that you do and what you might bring with you.
Well, certainly, you do want to bring a light, and one of the fun things that you can do with a light is if you shine it across a coral head, you can actually see the coral polyps feeding at night as they bring in small little animals and they feed. And as he said, it brings out great colors at night. Just a whole lot of fun night dives. They can be a little spooky, maybe the first time you do one, but after you've done a couple, certainly will become one of your more favorite diving activities, just because of the different things you see. Octopus are a heck of a lot easier to spot at night. You see them more often. A lot of things come out at night that you don't normally see during the day. So there's a lot of daytime critters, and then there's a lot of nighttime critters, and so you get to see both. Great time to go diving, and if you haven't done one, you really need to do it.
I would agree. One of my favorite things about night diving in specific areas or certain areas are the bioluminescent plankton. And of course, you look a little silly because you end up doing this in the water to get it to glow. Or sometimes you can even follow the sea lions as as they're hunting at night. So absolutely, I adore night diving. Now, one of the things that Nick mentioned was to shine a brighter light on it. You need to have a good light. So one of the things that we actually learn in the night specialty is to have a primary and then to have a backup. David, would you be able to explain a little bit why we might want to do that?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if something can go wrong, it often does. Much of what you learn in the open water course in scuba diving is how to deal with problems if they arise, and most of the problems never do arise. But one problem that I think is probably more likely to arise than others is for your light to go out in the middle of a dive. Maybe you didn't change or charge your batteries. Maybe there was a leak and it blew out, the light bulb went out, whatever it is, lights go out. And it is nice to be able to see, to be able to read your gauges and to see what you're looking at. So if you have a backup light, you just whip it out and you're good to go for a little bit more time.
Wow. So for 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 those fish down there, this is what they feel like when you shine a light directly in their eyes. Nick, do you have any suggestions on how we should actually interact with our nocturnal fishing?
Absolutely. Yeah. You want to make sure that you are respectful. You are the visitor in their environment. It's not your home, it's their home. So just like you're visiting anybody's home, you want to think about how to interact with them in a non-invasive way. So just as you pointed out, don't shine don't shine the lights in their eyes. Don't always follow a fish with your light, because they may be trying to get out of the light for various reasons. So don't follow a particular fish. Be mindful of your buoyancy. It's another time when it's very easy to lose track of your buoyancy, and you don't want to kick the reef. You don't want to touch anything down there. So just like you do a night dive for your master scuba diver, you could also throw in a peak performance buoyancy course and get your buoyancy right before you do the night dive. So you want to make sure you act as if you're a visitor in somebody's home.
Man after my own heart. Absolutely. Absolutely. And that brings another excuse me, another point on it is that when you actually signal to people, if you're doing something like shining your light on your signal to them, you're just blinding your dive buddy as well. So these are all interesting things that you're going to be learning during your night specialty, and hopefully that buoyancy thing you're going to have worked out with your peak performance buoyancy. Now, tell me something. We touched on it a little bit, or David touched on it a little bit, how to do some navigation underwater. Indy, I believe you just recently did a navigation specialty a few weeks back. What was something that you might think of that will be different in navigating at night?
Well, the first thing I would have to say is not being able to get a very good bearing or heading. If even if the vis is great, you might not be able to see where you're what you need to get a heading on. You might have to just go straight off the compass or a predetermined heading. You have to do that on before you enter the water.
All right. The other thing is, and I'm trying to show you at the same time, most of your gauges Well, now this is about as old as Indy, but most of your gauges will actually be glow in the dark. So if you hold your light on the gauge itself for a while, then you let it go, it'll glow in the dark for you. Little known fact sometimes. Pretty cool though. Um, let's move on to something including night that I want to touch on because I think this is really special. Other than fish, what else is very different at night that you would normally dive during the day, just because you think of it? But what might you dive at night that would be a completely different kind of an environment? Nick, I think you've got one for us.
I, I do, Ross. At one point in time, my wife and I lived down there in Key Largo, where you guys are, and we were working in the industry. And I distinctly remember one night we were going out to dive a wreck um, called the Dwayne. And as you guys all know, there can be some current on the Dwayne. And this night there was, but we were also very fortunate in that the bioluminescence was very active that night. So as we pulled up to the wreck to hook into the mooring to the can, you could actually see the outline of the ship down there on the bottom before we ever got in the water. And then descending down that line, you could see the line all the way down because of the bioluminescence. Talked about the seals moving through the water. We could see the barracuda moving through the water. It was one of the coolest dives I've ever done. Really, really a magical evening.
Wow, that's fantastic.
That
That
is
is
really cool.
amazing. Yeah, David, have you been on a dive site at night that just completely changed the way that you looked at that dive site?
Yeah, absolutely. I've said this before, I think, but my favorite night dive, I have not had the opportunity to dive our deep wrecks, by the way, and that this may change if I do, but my favorite night dive here in Cape Largo is the wreck of the Benwood, which is about max outs at about 40 feet. And the Benwood is sort of cool anyway to dive, but it really transforms at night. Not just from what other people were talking about with the coral polyps coming out and that sort of thing, but and the sort of different types of night creatures that come out and the day creatures that go away. But there's sort of two really notable things about night dive on the Benwood. One, it seems to be the home for a lot of turtles. So after they're done working during the day and they want to come home and go to bed, they congregate around the Benwood, and it's almost a guarantee that you're going to see multiple turtles, which is just awesome. The other thing that makes their home there are a lot of parrotfish. And parrotfish are really interesting because what they do when they're ready to go to sleep is they're able to spin a mucous membrane around them. It almost looks like a cocoon, and they're completely enclosed in this mucous membrane. But they're just sort of out there. You can see them. Maybe they'll be under a ledge. The thing is that a lot of divers don't realize, though, is if you disturb and wake up the parrotfish, and it has to break out of its mucous membrane, it cannot do it again that day. They can only do it once every 24 hours. So we were talking before about not shining a light directly into a fish's eyes, and that's true no matter what. But if you see any parrotfish down there, be sure not to disturb them because they are protected from their predators in their membrane. But they'll be very unhappy all night if you make them come out.
David, that's wonderful, wonderful advice. Now, I understand that Indy has some people that he needs to say hi to. Why don't you say hi to them and also
Ross,
your favorite animal?
Ross, we can't hear you. You're too far away.
Underwater.
Yes, that is one of the turtles. Unfortunately, Ross brought it out of the water. No
I
taking,
did.
no touching.
He's in shell shock. But in Indy, I think there are a group of wonderful people on Facebook right now that would like to hear from you. Say hi to them. And also, why don't you tell us a little bit about some of your more favorite nocturnal critters?
Oh, I see it now. Santa, Lisa. Oh my gosh. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining in.
Well, there you go. We've also got a Tom that we'd like to say hi to. Yeah, Shane, Elisa. We've got Dave, Doug. We've got people all over. We want to hear from you. As a matter of fact, we would like to hear what your favorite night story is. Better still, make a little 20, 30-second video and then share it with us of what was your favorite night dive. My particular one, I was actually on another wreck. This was up north somewhere, and I had about 6 students, and they were all below me, and it was like a movie, and they were like on the moon, and it was just the coolest thing because everything was slow and the lights, and I thought that the only people that could possibly see us were like in outer space because it was just phenomenal. So come night dive with us, but please let us know about your favorite night dives. The other thing that I'd like to talk about is just some dive sites. So maybe let us know about your favorite dive sites. David, we always get to hear from you about your favorite dive site. Your challenge is to actually come up with another site because we've been doing this several times. So let's start with you, David. What is your favorite dive site here?
All right. So last time I talked about non-French, non-French reef. So I think I'll talk about French reef this time. And I would say that certainly one of my favorites on French reef is Christmas Tree Cave. There's a lot of swim throughs on French reef, and they're all very close to each other, so you can actually make your way through a bunch of them. But what I really like about Christmas Tree is that it's filled with glassy sweepers. And if you're not sure what kind of fish that is, Google it. They're really cool. And there's just a zillion in there. So I like swimming through there and seeing the glassy sweepers.
Cool. Cool. Oh, so we've got some more people to say hi to. I'm going to get to that, but I'd like to hear from Indy. What is your favorite dive site here in the Keys?
Well, my very first dive with Rainbow Reef was a night dive on Snapper Ledge, and that was just amazing. But by far, I think as much as I've been diving, which isn't too much, was Molasses Reef. We were there not too long before we had to close up for now, but it was truly like an aquarium. You could see 100+ feet. It was you just sitting there, super shallow, and there was just life all around you. There was no other place you'd want to be.
Nice. I have a big hello to Thomas. I hope you're good. How are you? Good, I hope. We miss you. We'd like to go back now to Nick. Now, you mentioned the Dwayne and diving in at night. Do you have perhaps another favorite dive site here, Keelar, you'd like to tell us about?
Sure. Sticking with the wrecks because I love the wrecks. The Bib and the Dwayne are great. The Spiegel Grove is also one of my favorites. I got to dive it in all of its different positions, and now it's upright. I believe it's still upright. I don't think it's changed. So that's a great dive, and those wrecks just attract life, bring all of the life that's all around, bring it in, and it's a great fun thing to explore, to go, in and around the ships, and to look at all the different marine life on there, and to dive them again and again over time, because as time goes by, things grow, things change on these wrecks, and so it's almost like time-lapse photography. You can dive it now, you can dive it 6 months or a year from now, and it'll be different. 6 months and a year later, it's different again. So the reefs are great, carries forward all of them. I love all of those as well, but the wrecks are definitely my favorites.
Absolutely. Absolutely. As a matter of fact, one of the things that we're going to be starting to do is we're going to be doing a wreck trek. When we're back up and running, we're going to be able to get out and see those wrecks. Think of it like a punch card thing. It's just going to be an event where we can go to each one of them. Maybe you stay with us for a couple days, stay at the hotels for a couple days, come out, let's visit all these wrecks. And you know what? Let's do some night diving on it. Let's get together, do some night diving on the Dwayne, excuse me, the Benwood. That would be fantastic. Um, uh, I haven't heard from anybody else on what your favorite site is. I've got one more question that I want to ask each one of you guys, and this is a kind of an interesting one. When you're diving at night, most people want to have some type of a marker on their tank. Do you use a chemical stick? Do you use a beacon? What do you use?
Who's first? Me, Ross?
Sure. Why don't you go first, Nick?
Okay, absolutely. See, when I'm diving at night, I usually don't have to have a beacon because I have my wife stuck to me, and she takes care of all that. No, what we do is we have the battery operated beacons that go on the back of your tank. I think it's very, very important to have multiple lights, as David brought up before. You have the primary that you're going to use, and then you have a backup in case something goes wrong with that one. Because exactly as he said, something happens, compost happens, right? So, you can have different kinds of lights. We talked about that before. Some are very bright, some are very wide beam, depending on what it is that you're after. If, a very narrow beam is much less intrusive, a wide beam can turn a night dive into a day dive. So you have to think about a little bit about what you're after down there, what you're going to be doing. But as far as some way to keep track of other divers, a little thing on the back of your tank. We use battery operated ones simply because we don't want to use the chemical lights.
Nice. Indy, what do you use?
I actually have a couple of the small little lightsaber ones, battery operated. They're
Right.
really bright, but not too bright to where you see it and like Nick was saying, it's kind of ruins the dive almost. It's not bright. It's not too bright by any means.
Nice. And David?
Well, right now I use whatever Rainbow Reef uses because usually if I'm doing a night dive, I'm guiding people. We do supply them on the boat, so people don't have to worry about bringing their own. I would like to echo Nick, though. I'm not a huge fan of the chemical ones, although they're sort of more foolproof because a battery or a light bulb can go out in the middle of the dive, and those aren't. They are chemicals, and also they're in plastic. And since we're trying to reduce plastic these days, those are one-use plastic. They're not bottles, but they're single-use plastic ones. So I'm not a big fan of those, but I understand their utility because they're definitely they're much more foolproof than a battery-operated light is. But you have to make a choice there.
All right. Well, we're starting to get some more questions in. We thank you very much for all those questions. Looks like we're running out of some time now. I will say that a backup light, that's something small like this that you can put into your pocket, is really
Yeah.
great because that way it's always available. Make sure it's somewhere on your person that you can get to it and that it's not obtrusive. If it is in your pocket, then it's usually pretty easy. You know what? We've got a question about night lights or lights and photography at night. That's a wonderful topic that we're going to touch base on our next Talk Dive Live. We're going to be talking about photography and different ways of actually framing a picture, not like the bad way of framing, but framing a picture and the angles of lights, perhaps. And we do want to hear more about these things. You heard David touch on some of the Project Aware that we're always very aware. Both Nick and David were talking about the chemical sticks. Bad. Don't want to put the chemicals in the ocean because remember, everything that's underwater is alive until you touch it, right? So I will bid all of you adieu. That's just a nice way of saying so long. Hope to hear from you all again. Please do sign in. Remember, this evening's broadcast was brought to you by the letter C. That's spelled S-E-A. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Nick.
Bye, everyone. Thank you
Indy,
for coming.
Bye-bye.
David, thank you very much
Thanks,
for joining
Nick.
us. Remember, dive, dive, dive.